Picture this: the world plunges into darkness, not of power, but of connection. The internet, the invisible thread binding our global village, is gone. No more instant updates, no global commerce, just silence. And let's find the answer to the question, what if? The immediate aftermath of the internet's disappearance would be utter chaos. Communication would be severely hampered. Emergency services would struggle to coordinate responses across distances. International relations would falter due to delayed and unreliable communication, and financial markets would experience a near-instantaneous crash. Businesses relying on e-commerce and online banking would collapse, triggering a global economic recession as supply chains grind to a halt. The lack of reliable information, coupled with disrupted daily routines, could fuel social unrest and conflict, creating a volatile and unpredictable environment. Misinformation would spread rapidly through fragmented channels, exacerbating existing tensions. The world would be thrust into an era of profound uncertainty and disruption, a stark contrast to the interconnectedness we take for granted. The sudden absence of the internet would force a rapid return to traditional communication methods. Physical mail, though slower and less efficient, would experience a dramatic resurgence, struggling to cope with the overwhelming demand. Radio and television would become vital for mass communication and emergency broadcasts, raising concerns about potential censorship. Local communities would become crucial for information sharing and social interaction, fostering stronger bonds but also highlighting the limitations of geographically restricted communication. This shift would necessitate adaptation. Individuals would need to rely on personal networks and direct interaction, potentially strengthening community ties while simultaneously limiting access to information and opportunities for broader connection. The sudden absence of the internet would decimate the digital economy. Software developers, e-commerce giants, and digital marketers would face immediate and widespread unemployment. Retraining initiatives and massive job relocation efforts would be crucial for survival. Education and scientific research would also undergo a radical transformation. Online resources, collaborative platforms, and digital databases would vanish, necessitating a return to traditional research methods and potentially slowing the pace of scientific discovery. This shift would also affect the educational system, demanding a reevaluation of teaching methods and the development of alternative learning materials. Simultaneously, we'd likely see a resurgence in traditional manufacturing and agriculture, a shift toward localized economies, and significant alterations to global trade and resource distribution patterns, leading to both opportunities and challenges in the reorganization of supply chains and economic systems. The absence of the internet would dramatically alter the geopolitical landscape. National security would be severely compromised, hindering intelligence gathering and international diplomacy, potentially leading to increased territorial disputes as real-time global communication vanishes. The interconnected world order would fragment, giving rise to stronger regional power dynamics. Alliances and rivalries would shift based on geographic proximity and resource control, rather than the fluid, globalized connections the internet facilitated. Governments, facing a diminished capacity for widespread surveillance and propaganda dissemination via the internet, might resort to stricter control over traditional media, potentially exacerbating information suppression and censorship. This new world order would be defined by localized power struggles and a heightened emphasis on physical borders and territorial integrity. The long-term absence of the internet would profoundly reshape society. Work habits would shift towards more localized and hands-on approaches, potentially reviving traditional crafts and skills. Social interaction, while potentially diminished in scale, might become richer and more meaningful, fostering stronger community bonds through increased face-to-face interaction. Cultural expression would likely become more localized, with regional traditions and art forms gaining prominence. However, the loss of readily accessible information could hinder the preservation and dissemination of knowledge, potentially leading to a loss of accumulated wisdom across generations. The very definition of progress would be reevaluated, shifting from rapid technological advancement to sustainable practices and community well-being. This new reality would necessitate a fundamental reevaluation of societal values and priorities. Internet's disappearance would cause immediate chaos, forcing humanity to rebuild communication and adapt to a drastically altered world. In your opinion, what if the world no longer has the internet? Share your thoughts in the comments.